Check, 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 1, 2. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Hot Topic Celeb TV. I'm your host, Teflon on the MIC, episode 35 of Sunday Service. Tonight, of course, it is the weekly edition, Hollywood actors, producers, directors in conversation. Tonight, joining us from the Darman series, the talented, the beautiful Katherine Norland will be joining us in the building. Don't forget, you can check us out, of course, each and every week, each and every Tuesday night for Hot Topic Celeb TV After Dark, and, of course, each and every Thursday for the Alliance Entertainment Indie Music Showcase. And each and every Sunday, as you know, it is Sunday Service. Today, joining us for service, she is a mother, she is an actress, she is a teacher, she's an author. She stars in the legendary, infamous, now world-famous Darman series. I'm looking forward to having this special guest join us tonight in the building. So kick back for the next hour, relax, and enjoy. And you're going to get to hear the Katherine Norland story. Don't forget, you can find us on iHeartRadio. Follow us. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button in the bio. Of course, you can watch the replay on the playback on HotTopicCelebTV.com. Don't forget upcoming guests from the SWAT series. We've got James Morrison coming in from, Jay Harrington, I should say, from the SWAT CBS series. And, of course, Peter Onorati from SWAT as well will be joining us. Also upcoming from The Bold and the Beautiful, Aaron Spears. But tonight, it is all about Miss Katherine Norland. I'm about to let her into the building. If you guys have a question, don't forget, make sure you drop it in the comments below tonight. There she is, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome in the building. Miss Katherine Norland will be joining us. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, another edition of Hot Topic Celeb TV. I am your host, Teflon on the MIC. Tonight, joining us in the place to be, Miss Katherine Norland from the Darman series will be joining us. She is a mother. She is a teacher. She is an author. She is an incredible lady that you're going to get to hear her story tonight and learn more about this beautiful woman and her journey into the Hollywood game. Tonight, of course, if you missed this podcast, you can watch the replay in a week from now on HotTopicCelebTV.com. Don't forget, you can follow me at DTEFLON. Follow her at Katherine Norland on her Instagram. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, kick back for the next hour as we entertain you for Sunday service. Tonight, the beautiful, the sexy, the talented, the incredible Katherine Norland. Welcome to the building, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, thank you for having me.
How are you doing? How are you doing tonight? How are you doing?
All is
Besides
well.
being not technically savvy.
Besides that, I've got a lot of good traits too.
So how have you been holding up during this crazy pandemic? And before we start, guys, if you guys can hear us, please drop a thumbs up in the comments that you're hearing us both correctly on both ends. Also, let me know in the comments where you guys are from. We will be taking, of course, some question callers towards the end of this podcast. So if you have a question for Katherine that you want to ask, you'll be able to connect, and I'll be able to connect you guys into the room. So make sure you guys let me know in the comments with a thumbs up that you can hear us both on my end. You can hear Katherine on her end. Also, let me know in the comments where you guys are from tonight. So, Katherine, how have you been holding up to this pandemic?
Better than some. I think it's been harder on my teenager, not being able to connect with friends and go to school, and the online learning has been atrocious. But for me, I was very productive. I wrote a book during the pandemic and released that in November.
Okay.
I shot a lot of, I wrote an online course that I've been shooting and hope to release in September. So it's been productive for me because I haven't been running around everywhere to auditions and rehearsals and things like that.
So let's start. So for the people who are just seeing your face for the first time, who are not familiar with your work, with what you've done, first, I want you to let people know who you are, your name, and where you're from, and then we'll continue from there.
Okay, sure. I'm Katherine Norland, and I was born and raised in Minnesota. And I moved to Los Angeles about 20 years ago to pursue an acting career. And probably 10 or a little more than 10 years ago, I started to branch out and do some filmmaking myself. And I'm doing some writing and directing and producing. So I kind of have my hands in a lot of pots right now.
So for you, like when did you decide for yourself was, a career path that you want to take? Was this your first, always your first choice, or did you have another passion and then you sort of fell into this industry?
I guess I didn't realize it, but I think my passion was teaching, but I never thought of being a teacher. I was actually enrolled in a Bible college, and I thought I was going to grow up and be a preacher one day, and I was doing a church service for inmates every Sunday at my local county jail.
Wow, okay.
So yeah.
And then for you, like continue.
What's that? Oh.
No, continue, because your phone is going.
Oh, okay. Just through a lot of prayer, I kept feeling like God was telling me to move out to LA and become an actor. And I thought, well, that's crazy. That can't be from God. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to make a difference. And acting just seemed like that's not something people really do, like for a real job. So it took a lot of convincing for me. But 6 hours after I drove into town, I had my first audition, and probably auditioned for 800, maybe 1,000 projects since then, and have acted in more than 150 projects before I even found our man. So
for you, like, did you start off training, or was this like something you just sort of felt in your passion, like I can do this without, or did you have any prior training before you got into the business?
Tons. I never stopped training. I only
Your phone, you're cutting out. You're cutting out.
Oh, I only stopped.
You might want to switch. Yeah, you're cutting out on your end. So I don't know if you want to go, if you have a better signal wherever you're at in the house, because it's cutting out on your end. Continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could try to go into my office and see.
Yeah, because it's very choppy.
Okay, hold on. We'll just go on a little tour.
Guys, don't forget, of course, you're another edition of Sunday Service on HotTopicCelebTV.com. I'm your host, Teflon, on the MIC. Tonight, Katherine Norland from the Darman series joining us in the building. Please let us know in the comments, guys, where you're from. We will be taking questions, of course, towards the end of this podcast, where you guys can ask and jump in and ask us a question. So make sure you guys sit back and enjoy for the next hour.
Is that any better?
Sean Ringgold in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, you can check my boy Sean Ringgold, who just jumped into the room. Check him on BET Family Business, ladies and gentlemen, each and every week.
Okay, hopefully this will be a little bit better.
Okay, sounding clearer.
Sounding
okay,
better?
continue.
Okay.
Yeah, so continue.
Sure. I don't remember where we left.
I was saying that when you got into the acting, did you have any prior training, like before you made the jump to Los Angeles? Like, how did your journey start into getting in front of the camera?
Sure. I started taking acting classes in Minneapolis.
Okay.
So I was driving 90 miles each way from my little town just to try to get some training. And that was, so 180-mile round trip. I was working 2 jobs. I was sometimes falling asleep. On my drive home, I would have to pull over and sleep to get through it all. It was pretty intense.
Mm-hmm. So, like, for you, like, when you decided that, I mean, when did you decide that for you to take that jump, to make that? Because a lot of times, of course, people, especially even, in the industry that I've been in for over 26 years, you rarely see females that are willing to take that risk. It's more a male thing per se, where they have that fearlessness, but women don't necessarily always make that jump. When did you decide that you had to make this decision?
It wasn't not without fear. It was more obedience, since I felt like this is what God was telling me to do. I felt like if it was just my idea and I was like, oh, I'm going to become an actor, I would have been like, girl, stay working at the factory. Stay working in the factory on the assembly line. Let's get real. Um, so for me, it was an obedience thing. I wanted to honor God, who I thought was telling me to move here and do this.
So when you arrived and you came into LA, you know,
Mm-hmm.
obviously people before they make, you know, that jump, they see what they see on TV, the
Yeah,
bright lights of Hollywood.
yeah.
What was the reality for you when you came out? Was it what you thought it was going to be in the first part, or was it everything that of the opposite?
Well, it certainly takes a lot longer than you think it's going to take to have any traction. That was a harsh reality, and my girlfriend would always say it takes 7 to 10 years to be an overnight success, and I'm like, it's been 15 years and nobody knows who it is. So that whole 7 to 10 years, I don't maybe it works for some people, but I didn't find the overnight success, and I'm 20 years in, and I still don't necessarily think I have it by the standards I used to judge by, but I'm happy and I'm
Hmm.
creative whenever I can.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, people in our business, they and I always tell even students of mine where like when you're first starting, and as you said, like you know, um, jumping into it and even after 20 years, you know, of putting in the work, I say to people when you're starting, you have to make a choice. Do you want to be famous or do you want to work? Because a lot of people
Yeah.
don't know the difference between what Hollywood is. Like they see the bright lights, they see all the fancy stuff, but that's great where you may get one, two, three projects. And I know for myself, like it wasn't about the fame, it wasn't even about the money. It was about the passion of performing and enjoying the craft of just being in the entertainment business. So for you, like, you know, what would you, for someone that has said, you know, that took that jump from Minneapolis to Los Angeles, what advice would you give for someone like what year, like for you, what year was it when you made that jump? Like, do you remember what year it was?
Yeah, it was 2000.
Okay. So how long before you made that jump were you in the business?
So probably 2 years in Minnesota before I came here.
Okay. 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 So for
Yeah.
you, what advice would you give then for somebody, you know, that is deciding to pick up and leave, say, for example, a small town like Minneapolis to
Hmm.
make that jump into the business? What would you say for yourself were the lessons that you learned when you first came over? And if you could go back, what would you do different?
Um, well, lessons I learned and what would I do different? So lessons are, it's not always about your acting. That's not always what gets you the job. Sometimes it's about building relationships with the right people. And if they know, like, and trust you, they're more willing to give you a chance. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big part of it. Um, and don't be too hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you don't get the audition, if you don't book the job. Don't think, oh, I've not booked these first 20 auditions I've gone on. Maybe this isn't meant for me. I'm just going to give it up. Because you have no idea why you don't book the audition. You could be too short or too tall or too light or too dark, and it's stuff outside of your control. So the best actor doesn't always get the job. So if it's your passion, I would say you have to keep going. And the worst thing you could do is put a time limit on it. So many actors go, if I don't make it in 5 years, I'm moving back home. Well, then did you really want it to begin with? Because you can't put a time limit on your dreams because you don't
Mm-hmm.
control over the powers that be that are going to hire you. So if you're trying to put a time limit on it, then I don't think that's really a serious dream, because if a true dream will take a lifetime, it will take your entire life and you will be in it for life.
Well, it's a thing, like, and that's a great point because I mean, I say that all the time. You know, like I've always said, there's no time limit on success. It's just a question of how much you're willing to put in the work. How
Mm-hmm.
much passion do you have? to fight through the days, because again, this is an industry where you will hear no more than any other business. And if you don't have that tough skin, I guess you would say, because obviously, like when people first get that first no, some people just breaks them down because they think it's personal. They think, oh my God, they don't like me.
Yeah.
But they don't get in the fact that, number one, it has nothing to do with you. Like personally, it's just that, what? You may not be what they're looking for at that moment. But I always say, like if you put it all out there. And like for you, like when you had those rejections, how did you deal with the first couple times that it happened to you?
I think I was too hard on myself at first, but I just knew I had to keep going. So I decided to turn it into like a numbers game, like salespeople. They think that maybe 1 out of every 10 people they call are going to buy from them. So I had to look at it not like I suck, they hate me, I'm not any good. I had to look at it like a numbers game and say, you know what? Every no leads me closer to a yes. And then you start to get like, okay, what's the next opportunity? The next opportunity, because the more no's I get out of the way, the closer I am to a yes. Not taking it personally was a big thing I had to learn.
And so, like for you, like obviously, at that time when you made that jump, I know that you're a mother. Were you a mother at that time when you made that jump, or your kids came afterwards?
No, I had my kid while I was living in the midst of Hollywood, and I thought, this is it. My career's over. I'm done. I'm never going to work again. I just thought, oh well, I might as well just, sit at home and start knitting or something.
Well, that's the thing. And this is, and it's. I'm glad to have you on because normally, most of the guests that we have on the show, even female-wise, a lot of them don't have kids. And I've asked this question, of course, for men, where men don't have that problem per se, where, whether it's age, whether it's kids that are going to play a factor in the business of where someone gets a job. Because I'm sure you've been in situations of castings or whatever where even for any potential job, where they're like, oh, you have kids? Okay, well, they may have wanted you, but as soon as they hear the kids word, they're like, oh, well, you know what? She's probably not going to be available. She's probably not going to be able to, because I know my frustration with either talent that I've managed or talent in the sense, number one, that I've tried to make them understand is that as your friend, as your manager, I can be like, hey, you got kids? Cool. No problem. But the business doesn't give a shit. The business is relentless. The business does not care what your reasons are for not being available. And a lot of times, for example, like people who have kids don't know how to understand that, like when they don't get that sacrifice. And so for you, like, when you had your children, and did you ever have an issue or a situation where you didn't get a job because someone found that you did have children and didn't want to take that chance on you because they figured, hey, you're not available? And second is, do you feel that there is a stereotype that women, should have a cap due to the fact of age or children in the business?
If I have ever lost a job due to having children, I don't know that's the reason why, because no one has ever been forthright in letting me know that's why. However, I have lost many jobs due to people finding out I was married. So I thought that was really interesting. That is
very interesting.
I got to the point where I stopped wearing my wedding ring to auditions because I would lose jobs if people knew I was married. So I don't know if the kids were a factor, but for sure the marriage thing. And I remember having callbacks and they find, oh, you're married? No, you can't, and not, like, they would tell you outright. They did not want you if you were married. They would make excuses like, well, boyfriend or husband might become a problem. He might show up on set and get angry if you're having to kiss somebody, and whatever their lame excuses were.
Well, and I'll be honest with you. Sometimes that is a problem because I've dealt with it even with castings of my own, where I will have a female. Even like I'll give you. I mean, I've dealt with it on two narratives. I've dealt with it on the race narrative for my own stuff, like working with somebody, and I've also dealt with it in casting process where I'll cast somebody for a project and they'll be like, and again, like I have no problem with it, but I make them, and even for me, like even if they're coming to a cast, I'm like, yo, if you want to bring them, no problem, but he better say the fuck over there, and like, you know, do whatever the hell he's got to do and just mind his business. But I've had people in situations where they'll say, you know, don't worry, my man doesn't care. He don't care what I do. You know, he lets me go and come and go as I please. You know, I can pick up and leave whenever I want. You know, doesn't, and what I've learned in those situations is that you either deal with an actress or a model who's only worked by themselves, for one, like they're doing photo shoots by themselves, or they're doing videos by themselves. They've never had an interaction with somebody of the opposite sex to sort of role play and tell a story, or you get the fact of number one where I do deal with situations where some women are in situations where their man are so controlling that they're like, no, you're not going to that cat. You're not doing, and then I've dealt with the other narrative in the business where I'll give you an example. Like I was working on this project, and it was an independent project. And there was a girl that, you know, she'd been bothering me for a couple of years. I want to get into the business. I want to get into it. Kept messaging me and I don't normally write anybody back. Because I get so much nonsense but for 2 years, he just kept on messaging and I just kept seeing it in my DM. I didn't respond. And then finally I was like, you know what? I'm going to respond. So I responded and I was actually coming into her city one day. And I was like, look, I'm going to be in town. I'm going to be doing a shoot. So here's the thing. Let me see what you're made out of. Like, because if you're saying to me you've done this before, to me, okay, you've done it before, but let's see what you can do. So we go through the whole questionnaire. She's in a relationship. She's married. My man don't care. My man don't this. So then I'm like, okay. So then she showed up to the set, and basically I had one of the photographers and stuff like that. We were sort of staging it in the sense, number one, setting up the shot. So I had her do a couple walkthroughs, just doing the scene by herself. But she was so like a deer in headlights.
Oh no.
Where like there was no emotion, no this, and you know as well as I do is that like sometimes you need to feed off somebody to be able to get into character, to be able. So I'm like, look. So I said, okay, I'm gonna jump out of my comfort zone here. I'm gonna walk you through. I'm gonna stage up a scene, and basically it's gonna be like, you know, I use an example like two people who are getting married, and they see each other across the street, and they catch each other's eyes, and you know when you see them in those movies when they're running towards each other, and they embrace and they pick each other up, and then you know. They hold hands and they walk away. So we did the scene. I explained everything to her. We did it. She was like, oh my God. Like, and I go, look at how different on camera, how natural you are. Because you know as well as whether it's in a photo shoot or on set, if you're thinking about it too much, it's going to show on camera. Rather than you just be natural and be yourself. And then you normally will get a better product. So we did it for like an hour. We shot everything. Everything was great. And then after everything was done, she basically, like, I said, okay, well, we'll see you tomorrow. The very next day, she messaged and she's like, yeah, you know, and all we did was in the scene was I lifted her up. We hold hands like a couple would, and we crossed the street. We got the shot. She's like, I felt uncomfortable. And we were like, sitting there, and we literally went over everything with her for like an hour. And she was like, this is great, blah, blah, blah. Then she basically turns to us and she's like, do you mind not like posting that video? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, you know, my family's kind of old school. I was like, what the fuck you mean old school? Yeah. She's like, my family's kind of, and then I'm like, now I get it. So your family's racist. Because the thing was, it had no problem with somebody else of the opposite color being in that situation.
Wow.
Then the fact of number one, her husband was like all chiming in. And that's where I think in your situation, I'm not saying it was the same, but a lot of times that's a lot of the reasons why.
Interesting.
And it sucks that number one, that certain individual like me, I don't hold everybody to the same brush, but I'm more transparent now. Like I'm more transparent in the conversation of like, I don't want to hear, because if you could sit there and say to me, my significant other has no problem. But now I don't want to take somebody's word. I want to see their actual reel, their actual photos, their actual content of them showing themselves interacting with somebody of the opposite sex, where it shows that realness dynamic. And I think that's, I mean, obviously for you now, do you still have that problem now you've been doing the Darmancer? Because obviously you've played so many different relationship aspects of shooting these series. Do you have that problem still in castings?
To be honest, I was about 3 years ago, and I kind of felt like, you know what? I think I'm done acting. It was like October ago. I don't really want to act anymore. And then it was like, God was like, ha, ha, ha. And I had the audition for Darman. And then to be honest, I'm not even looking for acting work anymore, because I'm so fulfilled and satisfied doing the Darman series that during my free time, I'm not even submitting for other jobs. Now people are approaching me to give me work, and during my downtime, I'm just working on my own projects and writing and looking for scripts for my directorial debut, and I'm not even seeking out acting anymore. So whether those issues would come up, I'm not in that audition game anymore. I'm just allowing others to approach me for work and then working on my own stuff.
So for you, like, let's go about how the Darmancers, how did that come about for you, and what made you want to be a part of the project, and how did you go about getting the audition for that?
Well, at the time, you may know Ricky from the series, Ricky Yvette Westmoreland. She and I were just Facebook friends. We had never met in person, and she had, I think, posted one of the videos, and I didn't even know it was a thing or a series. I saw it, and I complimented her on how great she did, and she inboxed me and she said, you want to audition for them? So it was all by the grace of God that I even I about it. I didn't seek it out. I just was giving someone a compliment on their work, and she's like, do you want me to try to get you an audition? And she got me an audition, and I just filmed myself on my phone and sent it in, and they hired me, and must have liked my work because they kept having me come back.
Listen, man, I will say this. That was a blessing, not only for Darman himself, but for the world. Because to me, the very first time I watched it, and it was you that was on it. And all I can say is there's very few independent talent that completely blow me away with their performance. And you did that. You took it to a level where I'm like, why have I not heard of this woman before until now? Because literally when I say there is nobody that brings out such emotion, such realness, such authenticness in a performance that it was almost like these series, these episodes, it was written for you. Like it feels like it was written for you. Like I couldn't see anyone else. I mean, there's obviously, there's, 3 other actors that from the series, that one that I know personally, and then now you, and 2 others that, the one that unfortunately died,
Yeah.
and, and another performer that where I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. This is the talent, the hidden gems that I always say when great people come together, it's not about the biggest celebrity name. It's not about how many followers. It's about when you get people together that are truly passionate about what they're doing and doing it in the sense where, as Darman says, we're not telling a story, we're changing lives. And I think
Mhm.
that, you are changing so many lives, because my whole thing with you was, I was like, nobody can play being sick better than this woman. Because whenever I've seen you like on the series, when you're dying or like got some terminal disease, like you literally, I don't know, I mean, you got really good makeup artists, but like
I
you
do.
make it really believable.
Yeah.
Like you were like on your deathbed, and I said, for me, like, to me, if this was to be nominated for like an Emmy, you'd be winning every damn year. So honestly, I got to give my hats off to you. I am so glad that blessing, came through. So like for you, what made you attracted to keep doing this series?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's kind of something I always dreamed of when I was doing the acting hustle. Was I wanted like a studio to go to every day, to be like a regular on something.
Okay.
Uh, love the fact that there it's safe for kids to watch. Like so many movies I was in, I can't show my children movies I've been in. They're like rated R, and they're to this or they're to that. Um, and it's amazing how, I said to God 20 years ago, I'm not going to be an actor. I want to make a difference in people's lives. And he said, move to LA. And I thought, how is that going to happen? And it's like full circle. I find out I am making a difference in people's lives. And, people inbox me about how, they saw this one video and they were going to kill themselves and now they didn't. And I get those same kind of messages about my writing, which I probably never, ever would have done had I not moved to LA and met the manager and the mentor that told me to put my work out there. And like everything happened coming out here and taking that chance. And the very thing I thought, I'm going to stay in my little small town of 9,000 people and make a difference with maybe a congregation of 50 or 100. Now it's like 100 times that.
Hey there, it is Katherine Norland. I hope you enjoyed that video. And if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And if you guys think that this video would bless somebody else or if they need to hear it, please hit the share button. And there's a little bell button too where you can be notified whenever I have a video that comes out so you don't miss a thing. I appreciate you guys. Remember, always live true, love hard, shine bright, and I will see you in the next video.